Yeah, my name is Paul Diffley. I make documentary films. I specialise in making films about rock climbing and mountaineering. I was very fortunate to be introduced to rock climbing at about the age of 14 through school and scouts, these sort of things. I was a member of the Outdoor Pursuits Club at school. We used to go on hill walks. I grew up in Manchester, so I went to the Peak, the Lakes, Wales. And I always used to see these climbers, you know, you would go on walks and I used to see the climbers in the valleys with all the fancy clothes and all the gear hanging off them. And I'm thinking, I want to be a climber. That looks way more fun than just hill walking. And also the climbers, they had the best kit, you know, they had the best clothes. And that's where I wanted to be, you know. You just look cool with a helmet on, you know. And it didn't stop with the helmets. I mean, they also had Ron Hills, which, you know, I looked on the Ron Hill website. They don't make those yellow ones anymore. I don't know why. I don't know why. But of course, this is like the late 80s now, we're talking, late 80s. And if you were a serious climber in the late 80s, if you wanted to let everyone know that you were good, there's only one thing you could wear on your legs, really. Lycra. Yeah. That jumper's quite a piece as well. A little bit of a mullet going on. And socks in my climbing shoes, again, a sin. So yeah, it's one of the best pictures of me, this, I think. The Bally 2s were good though, that's the only thing about that. So anyway, quickly moving on from that. Nice black and white slide, calm everyone down after that lycra. So I ended up in Edinburgh. I'd been to university, done a degree in IT, I was working as a programmer. I'd sort of followed a woman up to Edinburgh, not in a kind of stalker way, you know, we were going out, you know. And I ended up living in Edinburgh. And I got really into climbing again, really into bouldering. I was down at Alien 2 like every night, hanging off the 45, swinging off the campus board. And I actually got really, really injured quite quickly. So my fingers were all trashed, you know, tendons in my fingers were just kind of gone, you know, and I couldn't really climb very well for ages. And then I discovered dry tooling, which isn't as rude as it sounds. It's actually climbing with ice axes on rock, which may sound a bit weird, but then, you know, people in Scotland ski on the grass, so you know, it's just part of the game, you know. And I got really into this dry tooling scene, and it was kind of just taking off in Scotland. It's like 2003. Scott Muir had just done this route called Fast and Furious, a real test piece M10, and me and a group of friends got really into it. We built a little training wall and got really psyched, you know. And I started making a little film about our attempts to kind of repeat Fast and Furious. And that film became Fools with Tools, and it played in 2004 at the Edinburgh Mountain Film Festival, and then went on to play at Banff as well. So it was a real kind of change for me. So I'm going to show you a little clip from Fast and Furious now.
So much effort that you've only got 2 or 3 shots in you in a day, and if you don't get it, then it means you've got to go back again.
Come on, just get that heel up. Get the heel up.
Come on. Fight.
Come on. Clip it. Come on.
Oh, you.
Clip it. Come on. Drop that other axe. Just clip it. Just clip it and drop that f***ing axe. Come on. Forget that. Go on. Just do the clip. Come on. Come on. Come on.
Oh, you.
Come on.
Go on, Nick.
Clip that fucking clip.
No, we did.
Come on, clip it.
So that was when I look back on my life and I see that, I look at this clip, I always think it was a real sliding doors moment. This, you know, if I had actually clipped the fucking clip, you know, which was so easy to do. If I'd just swapped hands, and, you know, and gone like clip, you know, I was trying to clip with this hand, so I'm like doing all this crap. If I actually just clipped it, then maybe the film wouldn't have been that good, and maybe the film wouldn't have got into Banff, you know, and then maybe I wouldn't have become a filmmaker. So maybe it was good that I totally messed up the clip. Shortly after this time, I met this guy, Dave McLeod, and he was just starting his new project at Dumbarton Rock, which became Rhapsody E11. And he was looking for someone to film him on it. So I started going to film him at Dumbarton Rock. And I'll show you a little bit what he was up to.
This is the start of April, and the last time I was on the lead was the middle of October. So I've had the whole winter to go away and train, and also come back and work the route and get used to the new sequence for the Crocs. So I feel much fitter. I'm climbing really well. All my preparation was great. I did 2 48Bs and came back to the route. And in the past week, I've actually linked it on the top rope first try for the last 4 sessions in a row. The friction was amazing today, though. The conditions were absolutely perfect. I always hated wearing a helmet rock climbing. I always felt it really put me off. So I always kind of tried to resist wearing it at any opportunity, you know. But when I got this really light one, I was like, there's not really any excuse not to wear it.
Yeah, don't worry about Dave, he likes that sort of thing. So I'm still working IT, got a day job, but it was getting increasingly difficult to manage that because Dave would ring me up and say, right, I'm going to climb it tomorrow. And by this time I'd been filming him on this project for like a year. And unfortunately I was contracted to a company called F&C. And I'm never quite sure what that company stood for, but I really didn't like this company. And it was like F&C is like investment banking. They were all investment bankers, and that's not rhyming slang. I really was working with this right bunch of bankers on George Street, and I really disliked this job. And the problem with the job was I needed 2 weeks' notice to go and to get a day off because it was like a support role. I needed to be there. And whereas Dave would ring me up the night before saying, the conditions are perfect, I'm ready to go, it's going to go down. I was like, well, after I've been filming for a year, I'm not going to miss it. So I did what any self-respecting British worker would do and called in sick, which was fine. But then I'd called in sick like 5 times in 2 weeks, and it was starting to get a bit. And I can remember Googling the symptoms to irritable bowel syndrome, So I just had some ammunition on the form to fill in, So it was getting a bit hard to manage, But luckily, he did the route. And once he did the route, I then thought, right, I've got a film here, and this is a film I think that might sell. And so I was lucky enough to then quit the day job and go full time, which was a little bold because I had no training, no education in film. I'd made a couple of films, but none had won any awards, and certainly none had made any money. So it was a little bit of a leap. And also, I wanted to make climbing films, and there's a real problem with climbing, say compared to skiing, skateboarding. Well, skiing and skateboarding, you've kind of got it's visually interesting, there's visual movement through the frame, whereas climbing, and Andy Kirkpatrick sums it up like this. Climbing is like masturbation. It's fun when you're doing it, but no one else wants to hear about it. So given that's true, how do you then make climbing films actually interesting, And for me, it's always been about focusing on the people, focusing on the story. And so for the next kind of 10 years, I started making climbing films. So I'm going to show you a little bit of clip. So next after 11, I made a film called Committed, which kind of went a bit like this. Oh dear. Oh. Oh no. Yeah. It was fine, honestly. He loved it. And then there's a bit more of this. This is Committed Volume 2. James Pearson, The Walk of Life. Very nearly The Walk of Death. It's fine, he loves it.
And then you're like...
Then I made a film called Monkey See, Monkey Do. Matt Segal.
I love it. Kind of like my specialty, maybe.
And Hazel Finley. First time I worked with Hazel. Yeah, more climbing, more screaming. And then I made a film in Scottish winter, The Pinnacle, Spindrifty. Someone told me this was my first adult film, which was nice. And then I filmed another film with Dave on Orkney, The Long Hope. St John's Head, huge cliff. And then a film called Committed, Caroline Sinibaldi. She loves this, I think. Oh yeah. Strawberries, yeah. Oops. Then I made a film called Wide Boys, about wide cracks. I should point out actually, all these stories, these films, they all have stories and character profiling. It's not just, I'm just showing you a few clips. Back to Scottish winter, Andy Cave and Distilled, a bit more Spindrift. Then I came back, in 2014, I came back to Dumbarton Rock with James. Now in slow-mo. So, by now I'm very established in my little niche little world, my little niche of making films about rock climbing, having a happy little life doing that. And then, for some reason, I decided to make a caving film. Now, this kind of I don't know, well, it all started at Kendal. I just had a premiere at Kendal. I don't know if anyone's ever been to Kendal. Anyone? Hands up? Oh yeah. It can get pretty rowdy in the bar on a Saturday night. You know, it's quite a kind of party kind of scene going on. And also, I'd just done a premiere, so I'd kind of like, I don't know. I was well lubricated anyway, put it that way. And then one of the festival directors came up to me and said, "You've got to meet this caver. You've got to make the film about this caver." And I was like, "I don't want to meet a caver. You know, I don't make films. I make films about climbing. I had this image in my mind of this kind of like, you know, guy in his like 50s, 60s, big beard, you know, covered head to toe in mud and crud, you know. And I thought, I don't want to make a film about you know, and this guy, anyway, the director just said, come and make this caver and you know, see what you think. And then he introduced me to Steph Dwyer. And I thought, well, you know, okay, I'll have a quick chat, you know, just see what she's got to say, you know. So I have a chat to Steph, and she tells me all about this amazing cave system in the Picos de Europa in northern Spain, and how they've been, and there's a big story behind it. They've been exploring these caves for over 50 years. Originally, the Oxford University Cave Club have been there, and now it's kind of something called the Ario Caves Project. And now, after all these 50 years, they try to connect them all up, and there's a whole scene going on. And every year, they go out for expedition for 3 weeks and try and push it. And there's cave diving involved and all sorts of stuff. And you have to camp underground, these exciting underground camps. And it all sounded really cool, you know. And but I thought, well, that sounds great. It's a good story here. I can make a film out of this. But I don't want to shoot it, you know. I mean, I don't want to go down a cave, really. I don't have the skills. I don't have the techniques. You know, I'll pay someone to go and shoot it. I'll raise some funds. I'll shoot the interviews. Maybe go along the expedition, you know, film some shots from the outside, get the interviews, and then I'll edit it all together and make the film. But unfortunately, I never got around to the whole raising money bit of that story. So it came to the expedition. It's like, well, So I said to Steph, you know, well, maybe I can shoot it myself. And I can tell she looked at me and sort of, you know, she was like, you got to, when she said, well, you're going to have to do some training. I said, sure, I'll do some training. So I went to this kind of training weekend in Yorkshire, and it was actually what they call the GG meet, Gaping Gill meet. They have about 50 cavers camp up at Gaping Gill. It's really well organised with a big winch, and they have a beer tent there. That's how organised it is. And I wanted to fit in with the cavers, you know. I wanted to feel like I was one of them, you know. So I bought some new gear, although I think I might have stood out a bit. All the cavers' gears were completely messed up. But of course, within like half an hour, I was kind of looking more like the scene, you know, getting more into it. And actually, I quite like being underground. I had done a little bit of caving in my teenage years, just some potholes in the Peak District, and I kind of enjoyed it, but it never really been my scene. But I actually quite like being underground. It was fine, and the rope work was okay. It's different systems to climbing, different techniques, different equipment, and the climbing is very different underground. I'd be following Steph up some climb, you know, some gully. Don't call them gullies, do they? Streamway, and she would just like bridge out and back and knee and do this kind of stuff, and I'd be like trying to crimp on these little edges and put my welly boots on like little crimpers. You know, and just slip down them. You know, you have to climb differently. It's very 3D kind of climbing. But I got quite into it. But so the caving was okay. But the camera work, like I took a camera down with me on this shoot, and actually I'll show you my first picture I took underground. Now this is the problem. This is the thing. See, caves are dark, like fucking dark. You know, I mean, you may think it gets dark at like Ben Nevis, like, you know, it's 5 p.m. on a January evening, you know, but caves are proper dark, you know. So I could obviously, and, you know, and I'm a filmmaker. My medium is light, so I had a problem here. So I had to invest in a new kit. So I bought a new camera, Sony A7S, if anyone knows anything about cameras, which is really good in low light. But I didn't actually buy a lens. I hired a lens for the expedition. It was really expensive, like a £2,500 lens. And I ordered it online because I didn't want to speak to anyone on the phone. You know, I didn't want them to ask me what I was doing. And I don't know if they checked me out or something on my website, but I got a phone call from a woman at the hire place, and she said, "What exactly are you doing with this lens?" And I said, I'm going to make a documentary in Spain. And she said, "Oh, splendid, that sounds really good." So I left it at that. So this is the base camp for the expedition. And actually, to get here, it's a sort of 4-hour walk uphill. It's like walking up Ben Nevis from Fort William to get to the camp. And I had about 70k of kit with me, cameras and caving equipment. And actually the cave entrance is kind of up on this hill mountain here. This is just all limestone. It's just the Picos is just a huge chunk of limestone. And like limestone anywhere, limestone, it's like Swiss cheese, it's just full of holes. And what they're trying to do here with this expedition is sort of, the dream is you get an entrance here and you emerge 2,000 meters below. That's the kind of dream of it. And the terrain is really complex as well. Anyone spot the caver? Yeah, that's the thing. There we go. So it's really complex terrain, very hard to navigate. So this is the sort of objective. So all these caves have been explored for years. It's all mapped digitally. You know, they've kind of measured it all. It's all in computer systems. You can rotate it on computer models and stuff. This is a bit of a simplified view. And basically what they try to do is connect yellow to red. Okay, and they've been trying to do that for like 3 years. And yellow C4 ends at this sump, and red 27 starts in a sump. So you've got a sump here and a sump there. And when you can put it in the computer, you can see they're pretty close, like 100 meters apart almost, you know, pretty close. So, but of course you need a diver to go swimming underwater. And to get a diver down to there is a real problem, because you've got 650 meters of vertical cave, complex vertical cave, and rifts and all sorts of stuff. And you've got it's not just the diver you've got to get down there. It takes 6 people to carry all the diver's kit down there, like air cylinders, suits and all sorts of stuff. So it's a real kind of siege operation. But you know, I'd had my 6 days training, so I was feeling reasonably confident until I got to the entrance, and then I suddenly felt really overwhelmed by the task. You know, it was I was totally out of my depth, like literally. And it would have been too bad apart from fucking bag. I meant to say actually, when I start telling this story about the caving, I do start to swear a bit. And I'm trying to make an effort to say feck rather than fuck, just to kind of calm it down a bit. So it would have been all right apart from this fecking bag, because this bag weighed about 15k. And the thing with bags, you know, that's just the yellow bit, yeah, not the rucksack, just the yellow bit, which is the bit I took underground. And when you're carrying a bag underground, it's not like you're carrying a bag on a hill. You know, taking 15k up Ben Nevis is nothing on your back, on your shoulders. But underground, you've got to carry it. You've got to pick it up, drop it down, pick it up, drop it down, push it forward, lift it up, move it. You constantly, you're doing like some sort of like weird aerobics thing with it. And if people go to the gym, you know, they get given like these gym classes, and they get given like 5k weights, and they do this for like 30 minutes. Well, I was doing it with a 15k weight for 4 days. You know, it's horrific. So, and also the bags get when you're on passages, they get stuck behind you, and if you're on a rope, if you're going up and down a rope, you just hang them off your harness on what cavers affectionately call, on this piece of rope that cavers affectionately call a donkey's dick. So, and it just swings around like this. The bag just swings, that's 15k just swinging off your harness, and just wraps around the ropes, and it's just a real problem. That cartoon illustrates the bag issue. So I set off. The plan is to get this diver down to the bottom of the sump. So I set off a little bit early. I set off the night before, to give myself plenty of time, do a bit of filming. And this is the underground camp. And I was really looking forward to being underground camp. I'd heard all these stories of how cool underground camp was. And it was quite exciting, you know, living underground in a camp. I thought, that sounds great, you know. It wasn't like that at all, actually. Fucking shithole underground camp is. For a start, it's cold. I mean, the whole cave's like 6 degrees. And I know 6 degrees, you know, I'm sure we've all been out in winter at like much lower temperatures, but 6 degrees underground, it's just constant. When you're there for like several days, it just slowly kind of gnaws at you. It's, anyone who does physics, you know, their laws of thermodynamics, everything's trying to maintain the same temperature. So the whole mountain is 6 degrees, and that's trying to make me 6 degrees. And the climber is trying to heat the whole mountain to 39 degrees. You know, the cave wins every time. And it's also kind of sandy and wet and cramped. I mean, at one end of this tent, I say tent, it's like a tent inner hung up. There's no ground sheet, there's just carry mats on the bottom. And one side of it's like 4.5 feet, the other side 6 foot. And I was last in the camp, so I got the 4 foot. So I was sleeping in a kind of fetal position, which was pretty uncomfortable. I say sleeping. But to get to this camp, it took me 6 hours, and I got there quite late, like 3 in the morning. It's kind of been a long, delayed process to get here. And I got there, I was pretty tired, And I knew I had to sort the cameras out. And I remember thinking, oh, no, I'll do that in the morning when it's light. It's never fucking light in this. It's a fucking cave. But I just left the cameras and I tried to get to bed. And I can remember just laying down and in the dark, the proper dark. And I'd had quite a stressful time getting down these 6 hours to there. And I closed my eyes. And when if you close your eyes, you had a really stressful day, or you've been doing something new for the first time. As you start to dream, you start to visualize what you've been. So my brain was visualizing, dreaming carabiners and ropes and passages and water and all this stuff was dreaming on my head, and it was starting to freak me out. And I wasn't falling asleep. So I opened my eyes, and absolutely nothing changed. Like the vision was still there, because your brain doesn't register your eyes have opened. There's no information coming into them to know. It's actually called, it's got an effect, it's called, I googled it, it's called prisoner cinema, for reasons you can probably imagine. So I'm lying there visually hallucinating, and then there's a stream going past, and the noise of the stream is kind of weird, and then I start kind of hearing voices from above, and I knew that there's a team coming down, but they're not due for another 10 hours, 12 hours maybe. So I could constantly hear people coming down, or I thought I could hear rocks falling. And the tent is right below like a big shaft. So if anything falls down, it's going to go straight through the tent and land on my head. So I was just lying there. Well, not like that, because I couldn't lie out straight. I was lying like that, my head against a rock, hallucinating visually and audibly, thinking, oh, don't, oh. And I did that until morning came. And by this time, when morning came, that's when it started to go wrong, really. So I hadn't slept. I was pretty exhausted already, really, and I was starting to feel a bit ill, a bit tummy-y, a bit not right. And Steph had told me that everyone gets sick there. Apart from just living up there, the water's not very good. People tend to get sick, and I should explain toilets underground as well. Toilet etiquette underground in expedition caving. If it's like number ones, you just pee into the streamway, which sounds a bit weird, because then got to, like, all of you are then got to walk through the streamway, and one guy's got to dive in it at the end. But that's what you do. I guess it's because if you didn't do that, you'd pee on the dry part of the cave, which wouldn't go anywhere, it just smells. So, but number two's a bit more complicated. Best practice is you poop into a bag and then carry it back out again. Or if you're lucky, if you can sometimes find like a sandy side passage, which you can then dig a little hole, use that, and then when the winter storms come, it kind of just washes it out and down the system. So you've got a couple of options there. But I went for a third option, which I came up myself with, which was not going at all. This was supposed to be a 48-hour trip. I thought, 48 hours? That can't be that hard. I can hold off for 48 hours. Andy Kirkpatrick went 5 days without a solid movement on El Cap. 2 days, no problem. But unfortunately, I woke up feeling a bit, don't feel quite right. And that didn't get any better. This is a little clip of the underground camp. So the rest of the team arrived. Now there's like a team of there's supposed to be a team of 6 people plus a diver coming to join us. But one of the persons hurt the leg on the way down, so it was down to 5 plus the diver. And because of that, they were really late, and they'd had more kit spread around them because they had to pass the kit on. So they were all very stressed. They were on a bit of a time frame to get this diver down there. So they all arrived, and we all carry on down the cave. That camp's like halfway down the cave. So we've got another 300 meters of descent through passages, rifts and ropes and all sorts of stuff. So off I go. So I'm going down, but I am having to kind of clench by now. But I'm not told anyone my situation. I'm not told, and it's definitely, this feels like diarrhea. This doesn't just feel like I need to go to the loo. It's not just like, this feels like explosive diarrhea. There's bubbling going on here. It's definitely boiling, in fact. There's building up a head of steam. It was serious, but there was nowhere to go. There's nowhere to, it was just vertical ropes, and also the whole team is like I'm trying to keep up, the whole team's like steaming ahead. So I didn't tell anybody because they're already stressed about their objective. I didn't want to get in the way. I'm supposed to be observational filmmaker. not interfering with it. So I didn't tell anyone, so I was keeping it to myself. But I was really worried that I was going to like totally ruin a very nice cave suit. So after about 3 hours, I reached this particular part of the cave. This is called the Rift. Now there's lots of rifts in the cave, rift just being a narrow passage. But this is the Rift. It's about 20 meters long. So it's about the length of a swimming pool, I suppose. And you also kind of have to swim through it in a kind of weird way. I'll show you a little clip of someone entering it.
It's reasonably narrow, it's by no means desperate, but it's coated in a lovely slippery mud, which makes it the perfect recipe for getting stuck like a cork in a bottle. I suppose the thing that's always in the back of your mind is that you don't want to slip down into the rift and get properly wedged because it's such a difficult place to be rescued out of.
So the Rift. By the time I got to the Rift, you know, I've been underground for a day or so. I've stopped eating because of the diarrhea. I didn't want any more fuel for that, and I was very tired. Hadn't slept. It was about this time I started talking to my bag. I'd given it a name already, Baggy, and I was trying to build up a relationship with it. You know, so I'd like, you go over there, Baggy. You sit there, Baggy. Up you come, Baggy. You know, so we're getting on well. It's going okay. But when you get to the Rift, you really feel like, you know, this is 600 meters underground. So you're starting to feel the real weight of the mountain above you. And it's just, you know, to get rescue, for me to climb out from there would take 8 hours at least. And if you want rescue time, you times that by about 10. So you're looking at a serious rescue situation. And actually, if you got wedged into this Rift, no one can get you out because you can't get in to get you. It's so narrow. And the other thing is, it's not like it's a nice tight parachute you can just crawl along. It's a Rift and then it's bottomless, so it just goes down like that. And if you were to just walk in and let go like that, you just sliver down it, and then you breathe out a bit more, and then you would suffocate and die, and you'd never get the body out because you'd just be kind of stuck in there. And people have asked me since, you know, do you not get claustrophobic? Because, you know, as soon as everyone says caving, oh, it must be claustrophobic. The thing is, claustrophobia, it's like it's an irrational fear of tight spaces. I had plenty of fucking rational fears going on here. I was going to die, you know. Anna was going to shit myself or die, and then shit myself. So it was all, you know, I had problems here. And it's to get through it, it's kind of like a wriggling. You have to kind of key yourself. There's only one way through it. You know, you have to be up and down a little bit. You have to kind of key yourself through it. And it's kind of like a wriggle and frutch. But you've got to maintain tension on the sides, otherwise you fall down. So you've got to wriggle, frutch, wriggle. And it's really hard to frutch and kind of clutch at the same time. Yeah, I didn't like the Rift. And once you get in it as well, you can't, if you get your head the wrong way, you can't actually then turn your head around because your helmet's jammed. So you end up with your head stuck like this. And you can't really see where you're going next. Oh, it's awful. But I managed to get through the Rift with the suit intact. And eventually we get down to the very base of the cave, 650 meters down at the sump. So where the cave passage ends and it just turns into water. So it's like almost like a little beach down there. And also around here, lots of nice little sandy side passages. So I thought, great. So we arrived there, I left the team and I went to find a little quiet corner for a sandy side passage. And I stripped, wearing like a double suit, you know, so you have to take both suits off. So I'm basically naked from the ankles down, squatting over this little hole. And you know that scene in Trainspotting, you know, Ewan McGregor? You know, I mean, it was such sweet relief. It was, after like 8 hours, maybe 8 hours of, yeah, and I thought, right, now I can try and make a film. Because I'm supposed to be making a fucking film down here. I thought, you know, I've not had a chance to film anything for ages because the team is just like stressed and going. You know, I can't say, oh, just hold on a minute, just want to get a camera out. You know, and also I'm kind of so stressed with my own condition. So I've hardly filmed anything at this point. So yeah, I'm sweet relief. Of course, I've got no toilet paper, But I did have lots of lens cloths, so, you know, always take lots of lens cloths on a shoot. It's always a good tip. So we get down. So once the diver's down there, this guy was so stressed, man. I mean, to be fair, it was a very serious dive. They're running, I don't know, 10 hours behind. And once he gets to the cave, it takes him like 2 to 3 hours to build all his kit up. 'Cause all his kit's been broken down into little pieces, put into little boxes, and he has to rebuild all his kit and then prepare for this very serious dive. And he was really stressed out for some reason. And the deal is, obviously, I'm not going to go diving with him. I'm going to give him a GoPro, and off he goes. I'm going to film him set off, and he's going to wear the GoPro. That's always been the deal. And he has his own system, his own GoPro, which is given me to carry down the cave. So I carry the GoPro down the cave for him. We get there, and he's laying all his kit out, and I say, here's your GoPro. And he sort of says, don't give it me now. I don't want it now. I'm not ready yet. I've not got my suit on. I'm ready. I said, okay, you know. I'll give him some space, you know. So I gave him some space. About 2 hours later, it was like his suit was on. He was getting all his stuff ready. Oh, give him his GoPro. Here's, I've got your GoPro. Don't give me a GoPro yet. I've not got my instruments on. I've got to get my instruments on before I put the GoPro. So, and eventually, he's almost about to set off, you know. And if I don't get this footage, if I don't get this underground water footage, which is the whole point of the whole expedition, is this linking of the two caves, the crux of the whole film. If I don't get it, then there's no point in being there. You know, I've just endured this 30-odd hours of suffering to get this one shot. So eventually, he's about to go in the water. I said, quick, let's get the GoPro on. So, and it's like wrapped around his arm. And he gives me this, it's his system, it's his strap, his GoPro. And I tried to put it on his arm, it doesn't fit. The strap doesn't go around his arm. The Velcro doesn't quite go around. And apparently it's the first time he's used it with this suit, or he's wearing an extra jumper or something, I don't know. But I'm determined to try and get it on, so I'm like pulling on it. And the guy's like stressed out of his head anyway. And he just picks it up and he just throws it across the cave and says, I'm not wearing it. I'm like, fucking hell. I was like so angry. I was like, I can't believe you're not wearing the GoPro, because that's totally affected the film, you know, without the scene. And I've just gone down this fucking cave, nearly shat myself, and you're not going to wear the GoPro. So anyway, I thought, oh, it's okay, maybe we can kind of do something, we can set it up, we can do a reshoot or something. So I filmed him set off, and it did look really nicely set off, you know. The water all lit up lovely and green, nice, beautiful shots of him set off. And he's going to be at like the very least 20-minute dive, probably more like 2 hours, because he has to do the dive, come up the other side, have a walk around the cave, work out where he is, dive back. So it's at least an hour, probably 2 hours. So as he sets off, I then run back to my side passage, which is like my 4th visit to the side passage now, because you know once you've you know broken the seal, you know it was kind of I was there back. So I thought I've got plenty of time. I'll go now, and then I can come and wait for him to come back. So I'm just strolling back from my side passage, and I hear all this shouting. And I think, oh no, what's happened? So I run back and be faced with this scene.
Water. Give me that water. Oh, shit. Oh shit. Fucking hell. Both valves free flow. I couldn't shut them down. I did all of the valve changes. And I just had to swim back, and I went for the 4 at the end.
Both of his regulators, both the sources of his air started to free flow, which basically just means that it starts dumping out the stuff that you need to stay alive.
It's just sit still because I come up off his back. I tried to check the line distance, but I pulled off a lot of the line, over 100 metres.
Yeah, so I had no idea what was happening really. I didn't know where he was going to live, where he was going to die. Don't want to give the story away, but he did live, which was nice. And I was also thinking, oh, I wish he'd won the GoPro. That'd be great. So But basically, the mission that Connect the Caves has been a failure. He's dived underwater. He's not made the connection. He's had to rush back to save his own life. And so the expedition is now a kind of a failure. I've got I've got a little bit of footage of it, but not much. And then we have to kind of get back out. And if getting down there was hard, getting back out, you've got 650 meters of ropes to jug up, a lot of cave to crawl through. And it's not like jugging up a free line on like the outside of El Cap or something, which you can do quite quickly. Generally, the pitches are rigged into like 10 meters, 15 meters, 5 meters, and it's across up, across down. You're constantly having to work quite hard and dragging a 15k bag along all the way. And so by the time I was going back up, I'd probably been, I've been underground for nearly 2 days. About 36 hours at this point. And I was starting to feel a bit, I'm feeling a bit peculiar at this stage. I remember looking up at I was just jugging a line, looking at the wall in front of me, and it was all mud, and it all started like dancing around like this, and then like turning into little people, like a little show, And I thought, I remember this from university, experimenting with drugs, Well, like all politicians, at university, experiment with drugs, but I didn't inhale, which is perhaps as well because it was mushrooms, so I'd have choked. But so you've got a lot of pitches to climb up, and you've got to go through that fucking rift again, the other way. So, and the other problem I had a major problem as well, which was that because I'd taken my suit on and off 4 or 5 times on that sandy bank, my inner suit was completely full of sand. And I had a harness here, so I was getting incredible chafing. Because you're constantly doing that as you're jugging up, every jug was just kind of ripping into me. And I had been warned about this. Steph had mentioned, definitely take some Vaseline with you. And I never get chafed. I've never been chafed underground or on climbing. I'll be fine. And also, I had it in my bag, but I'd taken it out of my bag just because my bag was so heavy and I needed to trim down a bit. It's one of the things I took out. And so it was not good. And then I got to the camp, like halfway up, like 350 meters, halfway up on the way out. And I thought, I've got to find something. And I remember stopping, and I took my suit down, and my head torch on. I looked down like that, and it was like bright red testicles, like, wow. I was looking around the camp trying to find something, like there's nothing in the first aid kit. I looked in the food bag, maybe some tomato sauce, but I actually found some like hand wash lotion, and I put loads of that down there, and that felt better. And then I started climbing, and all that happened is the hand wash lotion kind of mixed with the sand, and it made what engineers call grinding paste. So the last 200 meters, like trying to get out of the cave, I was absolutely broken. I was just like, what the fuck am I doing here? I was just completely broken down. And the relationship with my bag had broken down. We stopped speaking. and I just couldn't understand how. And I was just so angry. I didn't have a film. I'd spent all this money. I spent all this time. And I got a film, and I'm in so much pain. My arms are dead. I'm exhausted. I've not eaten. I've not slept. It was horrific. All I had to show for it really was like incredibly red testicles. And then once I got home from this trip, for like a month afterwards, every time I fell asleep, I dreamt of caving. I dreamt of like not nightmares, but kind of stress dreams. I was just kind of like classic kind of PTSD. I was just kind of recovering from it. And of course, the best thing is that I had to go back because I only had half a film. So I went back the year later, and we did another 3-week expedition. This time we had a slightly better camp. It looks nicer. It was still pretty horrid, still wet, still cold. I still got diarrhea again, although this time I took more bags and toilet roll with me. And Vaseline, I took Vaseline with me this time. So I was kind of feeling I was kind of, the second, and also the caving was much more successful the second time. So that was good. Yeah, so on the second trip as well, I spent 5 continuous days underground, which was much. I only spent like 2 days, two lots of 2 days on the previous trip. On this time, it's 5. Actually took enough food for 7 days. I was planning to go in there for 7 days, well, up to 7 days if I needed to. But after 5 days, I was definitely ready to come out. You start to go a bit weird after like 5 days with no sunlight. But it is incredible when you actually do exit the cave after 5 days. You've been in an altered state for so long. When you come out, it's just amazing. One of the cavers sums it up quite nicely in this little clip I'll show you.
Underground, basically everything's different shade of brown. You don't see greens, reds. There's no organic molecules in the air. When you come out, you get assaulted, all your senses. If you come out in the daylight, it's indescribably bright, having had 3 days or 4 days underground. And then the smell in the air, you don't realise normally how much smell there is in the air. You become adapted to it. But underground, you lose that adaptation. And when you pop out of the top of the entrance, suddenly all these smells of the grasses and the wind and the flowers all sort of hit you. So it's like the end of a sort of solar eclipse, isn't it? You know, the world goes back to how it should be.
And when I came out that time, after that 5 days underground, that the mountains had never looked so beautiful. The sky was so blue, the grass was so green, the smells were incredible. It was just, I felt like weeping. The world was so beautiful. You know, and you spend 5 days in a muddy hole, you really appreciate the world. So really, you know, I think caving's like motto should be, or slogan should be, caving, it's fun when it ends. So what the feck was I doing there? I guess I was making a film, and I guess that's my job, and I shouldn't whinge so much. But sometimes you have to suffer for your art. So I'm going to finish just by showing you the trailer for the film.
Found ourselves at the top of this large natural shaft.
Gradually, you know, the dream has formed.
It's tantalisingly close now.
Nothing on earth would make me get into water that cold, this deep in a cave.
Fucking hell. Both valves free flow. I couldn't shut them down.
You don't have guaranteed success. You know, the top of the mountain isn't there, you can't see what you're going to find. Because caves don't kind of give up their secrets very easily. So you just got to live in the hope that eventually you will make connections. I think many, many years of hard work has actually started to really pay off.
They did have a tagline, "Some men go deep," but I got talked out of that one. That's me, thank you very much.